right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Drill Room. As always, I am the Bearded Beast, Rob Johnson, and I want to thank you for joining us here once again. We're going to be talking a whole bunch of things tonight. We're going to be talking about your questions, talking about new releases, the World Series of Bowling. We're going to do some coaching. We're going to cover a whole bunch of different things. If you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Throw a comment in there if you'd like as well. And you can join us live in the chat, probably over that direction there, where you can throw up questions. We're going to be answering things all show long. If you can hear my dog in the background, he just loves bowling. That's my little Stormageddon Dark Lord of all. He loves him some bowling. So let's get right to things. I'm just going to give everyone a second here to get online and to make sure everything is running good, make sure everyone can hear me no problem. And I haven't heard anybody complain yet. I think the audio is actually working for once. We might actually have things working on time at the beginning just for once. So let's run over here. The first thing we're going to start with here is, of course, the new releases that have come out. There have been a lot of new releases announced over the last few days. And we're going to start with the oldest ones. Let's look at the Storm brands. So, of course, you can see we've got the new IQ Emerald Hybrid. Big difference here that we are seeing is it is, well, of course, hybrid cover stock and the AI inner shell. So we've seen Storm update a lot of their classics with the new AI shell. I think similar to what we've seen with companies like Brunswick updating things with Dynamic Core. Obviously, it's helped them with their durability and with their longevity. So, and apparently scoring. So, why wouldn't they put it in their stuff? Next up here, well, sorry, before we leave the IQ here, I'm not going really in-depth into the IQ because there's been a ton of them. Really, the only difference we're seeing here is, in fact, that AI core. So next up, we have the RST Hyperdrive. Now, this is a big, strong ball. This is their solid reactive micro tracks cover stock. And if you've seen a lot of the guys talk about it, your Darren Tangs, your Kyle and Brads, they've called this thing their Hook Monster. I think Hook Monster, we've talked to, lots of people talk about this. It gets overused a lot. But when you're looking at a big, strong, high flaring, heavy oil ball with a 2000 grit surface on it, this thing is going to have a lot of motion. And if you see a lot of the pros throwing it, it does have a fair amount of motion, especially on the medium patterns. It's been coast to coast. A lot of guys have been throwing it on the longer patterns, and it's been their go-to ball. So this looks like their new big heavy oil ball that's going to be seeing a lot of play. Speaking of something that's seeing a lot of play, we have the Rockstar. Now, the Rockstar has a crazy core on it here. You can see there in the picture just down to the side here. It's got a crazy shaped ball that's like two half spheres and then like a cross section across it. And then they've actually added the weight puck as well. So that's created, it's created a fairly strong ball for them. If you look at their, breakdown on their website, it's supposed to be a high flare potential, fairly smooth, a lot of mid lane traction for medium oil, medium pattern lengths, and at 248.050, that seems about right. That seems like where that should fit. If you've been watching some of the PBA shows lately, you'll know that the Rockstar has seen a fair amount of play with the guys when they wanted something that was going to be very controllable, and something they could go to tackle some of the more difficult lane conditions that they've seen, especially on TV. The lanes have been really hard on TV lately. Now that we've gone through Storm, let's go through today's releases. We're going to start off, of course, with the ones that probably everyone's talking about. We've got Hammer. Hammer with a new version of the effect, the special effect, and a brand new nameplate, the Hammerhead. So the special effect here is using the original Huntsman core, but they've put a new version of the cover stock on it, and they've polished it. This has allowed them to create the strongest cover stock that Hammer has. And it's not hyperbole, it's not me saying it's the strongest one. They say it themselves. It is the strongest cover they have ever made. And they put polish on it to get it down lane, because if you scratch this thing up, if you hit it with some paper, like some sanding paper, she's gonna jump. Like, she's really, really gonna dig in. We're gonna have the review for this tomorrow coming up. We did another one of the new releases today that was kind of a special one for us, or at least for me. So we'll have the special effect coming out tomorrow. The other ball that came out is the Hammerhead. It's a new nameplate, but we've seen that core before. That's the spheroid core. I think the last times we've seen that is like the... just going through my notes here, because the last time we saw that, I think, was the Rodman and... I'm trying to think. The Badass, the Rodman, and the Web. And then the cover stock that's in it is non-HK. It's the Aggression Solid, same as we saw in the Black Widow 2.0, and the Dark Web. So it's a very strong, very, as I say, a very furry cover stock. You can feel the texture in it. You can feel how much texture it creates, or how much texture it has to create friction on the lane. And then they finish it at 2,000, like 500, 2,000. So it's a very aggressive preparation of the surface as well. So it hooks. If you haven't watched the Hammer video yet, ours is going to be coming out later this week as well. So keep your eyes out for that. Just going to be checking into the chat here, making sure everyone's doing well. All right. So after the Hammer new releases, of course, we have Radical with a double shot. We've got first the Torpedo, and then the Torpedo Direct Hit. Now the Torpedo, it's a new core. That Torpedo core, you can see both the Torpedo and the Torpedo Hit have the same core. And it has the same numbers to it. The big difference with these two is the cover stock. The Torpedo, the original, has a new version of HK22 on there. Let me find it here. It is the HK22 C+ Pearl. And it has this weird... I want to say textured additive to it. Maybe it's like a throwback to the Conspiracy, but it feels like it has more texture to it. And they wanted to do that because they wanted an aggressive down lane motion. It is very aggressive. That video will be coming up shortly. We may share a preview of that, like a little sneak peek. And but it's strong. And then the Torpedo Direct Hit. That is the ball that most excited me because of that low friction cover. I spend a lot of time playing the Spy. I have a couple of them I keep in my bag. But one of the problems I find is when I get pushed too far left, plastic won't corner. It'll stop cornering, and yeah, it'll be flat. Not the Torpedo. The Torpedo was actually really mind-blowing for me because when I threw it, it literally, and you guys will see this in the video, it sat between my benchmark and my Spy, one of my Spies. And actually, it and the Torpedo are going straight into my bag. The reaction I got was different than what I could create with other pieces that I already had in my bag. And, well, there's nothing like the Torpedo Direct Hit. There's nothing. So I was really, really, really surprised at the performance of non-performance that was out of the Direct Hit. Like, don't get me wrong, it still hits hard. The low friction is real throwback to older cover stocks that really get down lane really far. Lastly, with the new releases, we had a new GB5 So this is a GB5 Pearl that is supposed to be the GB Hybrid Killer. Because it's supposed to be about the same motion as the Hybrid in a Pearl, that's a lot. That's a lot of motion. And at 500,000, 1500 plus compound, even though it has a little bit of a shine to it, it isn't as shiny as you would think a Pearl would be. So it's another one of those balls that kind of fits in there. It's not quite your GB5 benchmark, but it's going to be something that has a little bit more length and a lot more response down lane. Direct hit looks like something that will be great for house shots. Absolutely, Dead Polymers. Let me tell you, that ball is really good if you don't have oil, or if you're getting late in a block when everybody's getting pushed left and you can move right because you don't care about the oil. It's really amazing. I bowled a tournament this weekend and I wished I was able to throw this ball. And just because I kept getting pushed a little bit farther deeper than I was comfortable with the ball I was throwing. And I really wanted something that I could get right and get back a little straighter and be able to throw it harder rather than try to finesse the lane and hook it. So it's going to be a really, really good ball. Fats Around Life. Oh, thank you for joining us after midnight in the UK. Oh, really dedicated. My hat's off to you. Or salutes to you. I don't have a hat right now, nor hair. Last one we're going to talk about tonight is the one that has instantly put a place in my Hall of Fame of equipment. It's built a place in my heart very quickly. If you haven't watched the video that we released at 6 p.m., I highly recommend you go back and watch it. It is the DV8 Dark Side. It's a new two-handed technology core that's usable for one-handed bowlers as well. But it is something that gave a ball to the line of two-handed balls they didn't have. They didn't have something that could go ultra low differential up to really strong ball. And let me tell you, yeah, exactly, Dead Polymers, the world's ugliest 300 game. For those of you who haven't watched it, as I always do, I don't stop throwing until I at least throw 5 strikes, or I just keep going. Like, if I throw a 9-pin in my first shot, I'll throw until I get 5 strikes with the ball. Or if I just start striking, I'll just keep throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing. And as Dead Polymers alluded to, yep, the old bearded beast here managed to snap off a 300 game in just about 8 minutes. Yeah, it all looks the same on the big screen. That's right. One of the things I was trying to do with that ball, as I said in the video, I knew I could forward roll it and I could just stay there and throw it in the pocket all day. I knew that reaction was there. I always want to see how much versatility I can create and how much swing I could create with the ball in case I've got a limited arsenal. You can see I just kept moving left. I could get around it a little more and round it and around it, and it just kept hooking. It just kept snapping off. And, I mean, I got 13 boards left of where I started to still strike. And I could roll it forward, or I could get around it. And I could still probably throw it Brooklyn. I could move up a little bit and get it to hook even more. But the versatility I could create with this thing is just kind of what I was talking about in the video. What you can do with the core, how you lay it out, your dot to center of grip is really, really going to be important because it's going to let you fine tune this core. While I always talk about, my own layout system, when Brian Bakash came to me and said, look, I see something, I think you should do this. I went with what he saw because this is his core. He knows more about this core than anybody. So, and he was right. I mean, obviously, he put it in a spot that I really liked in my game. And 12 strikes later, good or bad, they're all the same up on the scoreboard there. So yeah, a lot of new releases. I highly recommend checking them out. All the videos are out for them now. both for Storm and for the Brands of Brunswick. If there is a ball you want to try, find a demo day or a matchmaker near you, spend a couple of bucks, go and try out the new balls. You've got nothing to lose. Like, you don't have to buy anything, but you get a chance to try out a whole bunch of stuff, and it'll make you more educated than you can be by not throwing it. Like, there's only so much you can learn from a review before you got to throw the ball yourself. And if it's a big change from what you're used to throwing, demo day is a great way to try out stuff. So we talked about the new releases a little bit, and I highly recommend you guys tune in all week, because every day at 7 this week, we're going to be releasing a new video. And then this weekend, we're going to be releasing a few. And then next week, we've got more videos, because you guys asked for more stuff. We've been recording some coaching videos. We've been recording some layout videos. We've been recording a whole bunch of content just to keep you guys satiated, and so that the stupid YouTube algorithm won't keep pushing us down. We've moved up a little bit. I think we're now in the top 1,000 review shows that do reviews every month. God, I remember when we were number 1. But that was like 30 years ago, 20 to 30 years ago. How time flies. Good heavens, how time flies. Speaking about time and changes, I want to get to the next part of the show here when we talk a little bit about tournaments. But I wanted to see if you had any questions out there about any of the new releases, any of the specs, what to expect from them. I've already thrown all of the new Brunswick releases, so I know how they stack up against other things that have come out recently, other things that have come out in the last few years. So if you have any questions about what something's going to look like, don't forget to give us a shout, either in the live chat if you're watching this show live, or if you're watching this afterwards. Don't forget to put a question in the comments below, and we'll try to get to it on our next show. So this past week, I ventured out of my home for the first time in quite a long time, and I went to a tournament in Buffalo. I attended the Beat the Champ presented by Storm in Buffalo. It's a television show that goes around different bowling centers in the greater Buffalo area, even down into Pennsylvania, and they have the best of the best amateur bowlers, no PBA champions allowed. And it's kind of a chance for bowlers to show off how good they are without having to go pro. This is the first time that I've bowled a tournament pretty much since I converted to two-handed. I've done some fun stuff here and there. I've bowled like a few events with friends and stuff, but I haven't really bowled a tournament. To be honest, I didn't think I was ready to bowl a tournament yet. In my time moving to two-handed, it hasn't always been easy. I've had some injuries. I've had some doubts about what I was doing, if I should keep bowling. Just like any bowler that's out there. It doesn't matter that I'm a national coach. It doesn't matter that I've bowled on the PBA Tour. When you haven't done something for a while, or you're unsure of yourself, those doubts can creep back in, and they can be pretty loud in your ears. So I decided I was going to bowl a tournament, this Beat the Champ, at Rapids Bowling Center, which is in Niagara Falls. It's just over the border. It's about 20 minutes over the border from Niagara Falls. It's like 3 hours from my house. But there was no pattern information given. Now, I'm looking back over some of the other tournaments that had gone by in previous months. They had announced that they would have either modified house shots or sport shots or something, but this one had no real information on what the shot was going to be. So I had to put together an arsenal that I could bowl, I was comfortable throwing, that I could bowl on anything. Now, you guys asked me last week what my arsenal was, and if I can find that little piece of paper here, I remember I had written it down. I probably... That's Rob for you, isn't it? Throwing the good stuff out. Nope, yeah, I definitely threw it out. But I'll tell you what I brought with me. For my fresh balls, I brought my Cypher Solid. Yeah, typical Rob. My Cypher Solid, which is pinup. I brought my purple pin, purple hammer, and my short pin zigzag. I brought a pinup pure envy and deviate mantra as my balls up. My late hook I had with me was, I can't remember now. They're in the other room. I know I wrote them down here. There it is. Okay, so my late hook that I brought with me was my Spy at 3,6,500. And my burn ball was my Tundra, and as well as my spare ball that I throw. I've got a blue hammer that I throw for spares. I looked at it from the standpoint, my mantra was shiny, my pure envy had a little bit of surface on it, so if it was a long pattern, I could throw my pure envy. If it was a medium pattern, I had the option, if the back ends weren't really fast, so they weren't really hooking really fast off the back end, I had an option to throw my mantra if I wanted to move left really quickly and kind of hook the lane. If it was a short pattern, which I was kind of sure it wouldn't be, I had purple rhino. Medium pattern or a house pattern, I had my short pin or my purple. And then the long, as I said, I had the Cypher because I could put some surface on it. A little higher RG, I could get a little more energy down lane. Now, when I got there, I had a lot of nerves. Really, really nervous. I saw a few bowlers there that I knew, but not a lot of them. Hadn't bowled tournament, like I said, in 2 years. In my home house, not averaging like I was before. I'm not averaging 210 plus. Like, I wasn't. And I was like, you know what? Regardless of how I bowl here, the goal is to see where I am in my progress. I need to see if, every house bowls the same relatively, or if some of the problems I'm facing are because of us having a high friction house, hence how much the ball hooks for me. I had to check to see if I can still bowl. It's unusual to hear, but after you haven't bowled for a while, you really can get the jitters. Like you can get a lot of anxiety, and I even through practice, I had a ton of anxiety. My wife traveled with me, and I kept turning around to her and saying, like, my anxiety level's like right up here. I couldn't catch my breath. My heart was racing, which is so stupid because I bowled a million events, and I've bowled with pros. I've bowled all over the place, but suddenly it was there. And I had to stop myself. Even the first couple of shots of the first game, I went 7 count, 6 count spares, but like terrible first shots. And I had to stop myself, and I just had to say, like, come on, Rob, like, relax. You know what you're doing here. Anxiety is a part of life. If you think about it, I read this really good book. I think it's called Leap of Faith. And it was basically the concept behind it is we're animals, and we all have that fight or flight response. And even though we have evolved to a point where we don't have to hunt for food, and we're not, we are pretty much the highest predator on the food chain where we don't have those anxieties. That fight or flight reflex is still inside of us. And when you're put in a position where you have to make choices, when you're under heavy anxiety, you have to remember that it's natural. It's really natural to feel like, oh my God, my heart's racing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm scared. Or, maybe it's, I don't deserve to be here, or I don't belong here. I don't have the skill set to be here. Those doubts in yourself, those are natural things. That's your brain actually putting your fight or flight reflex into or like it's putting it to work. So I threw a couple of shots and I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I can't bowl this tournament. Oh my God, oh my God. And I stopped and I went, no, just stop, breathe, and, admit to yourself, yeah, it's natural. It's okay. You're allowed to feel anxiety. You're allowed to feel, um, like I have imposter syndrome sometimes, where I feel like I don't deserve to be places. I don't deserve to be doing things. I in some things I'm an expert, and I still sometimes feel like I'm just an imposter. Lots of people go through that, and it's very, very natural. It's actually one of the reasons why I want to talk about this on tonight's drill room. I had to stop and tell myself it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay to doubt yourself. It's not okay to give in to those. It's not okay to let them take control. So I slowed myself down. I just stood for a second, closed my eyes, breathed, said, yes, it's okay to feel this way. Let yourself feel this way. Let it pass. Let's get back to work. Whether you feel this way or whether you don't feel that way, you still got to bowl a tournament. And what happens next is up to you. So I started visualizing and I started going through my pre-shot routine. And this is why these are so important. I know people don't always understand the reason why we use pre-shot routines and visualization, but this is a really, really good example of why we do this. Okay, I was able to stand up there before my shot and visualize myself going through the motions. I've seen myself throw enough shots, editing videos and doing reviews. I could see myself throwing a good shot. I could see my ball motion. I could see what I wanted to do. I took a deep breath. I got up on the lane. I executed what I wanted to do. I struck. I started striking. I started bowling better, and that anxiety went away. I'm hoping that by sharing this with you, you have a chance maybe to try this out. Especially if you have anxiety that keeps you from going to tournaments. I'll be honest, last 2 years I haven't gone to a lot of tournaments because I've been really worried because I made this change to two-handed, and it hasn't been easy. I didn't want to look like an idiot. Like, you're supposed to be some kind of coach, some kind of driller guy, some kind of reviewer. I didn't want to go out there and shoot 130s. And that's a really big thing to sit in the back of your mind. But if you just accept it's okay to feel that way, it's okay, but move on. You can't stay there forever. You can do things. Now, I didn't make the cut. I'm going to be honest. Game 1, I shot 206. First 2 frames, as I said, I think it was 7 spare, 6 spare. Actually, I think first 3 frames, I think I had an 8 spare. Then I threw a double. I just kind of struck 9 back and forth. I ended up going with my purple hammer, even though I liked the look of my zigzag. The zigzag had just a little bit too much motion in the mid lane versus my urethane, which was a little more early and then smooth. And I think it was the right choice. The bad shots I threw in game 1, they were on me. You think if I double instead of 3 spares to open there, instead of shooting 206, I shoot 230. Okay, not bad. Scoring pace, however, was ridiculously high. And when I talk about scoring pace, I'm talking about the score of the rest of the field, what the rest of the field is doing. While the rest of my pair, other than myself and one other guy, wasn't doing spectacularly well, the other gentleman who was on my pair, he went I think 279 game 1. So yeah, the scoring pace was there. There was a few 250s. Like, the shot was there and my ball was in the pocket. Do I think I should have changed balls? I think I had the right ball. I think the first game was me. Hard for bowlers to admit that, but I think it was me. Game 2 was much different. we moved 2 pairs, and I got down there and said, all right, we got to do this. I felt really good after throwing the last game, got out of it clean, no opens, through, I think, the front 4 or 5. Then my carry got funky. And when I say funky, I mean I left the 9 pin, made a 2-board move, left the 9 pin, made a move with my eyes, stuffed a 7 pin, and then moved my eyes back and moved my feet one more and peered the pocket and had a pin come off the sidewall and stand up in the 6 pin spot. Like literally off the side and go psh, and all my pair went, ah! Oh, wow. So I went from like front 4 or 5 to then 4 spares in a row. Still shot 216, but I think there was easily a 240, 250 higher game there. Maybe I should have made a ball change there. In looking back at it, I think I should have been more aggressive with my move off the first 9 pin. I think I probably should have made a zone change first, and that would have kept me from leaving that 7 pin or whatever that 6 pin was. For 216, so I'm still in the pluses. Game 3, my clean streak comes to an end. I split in the 8th frame. By then, I knew it was out. The other gentleman I talked about who had the ridiculous scoring pace on my lane, he shot 260 game 2. So at that point, the cut line was already plus 100 and change, and I knew I wasn't going to make it, but I still shot 212. So plus 34 for the event. I was very happy about it. I was happy that I was able to deal with my anxiety. I was happy that I was able to bowl on a different condition. I never get to use my purple at home, but I got to use it for 2 out of the 3 games. Game 3, I made a move first into my plastic ball and then into my burn ball, into my Tundra Blue Flame, just to get the ball to corner a little bit more. Ooh. And I probably should have made a better choice there, but by then I was already out of it, so it didn't really matter. The things I really wanted to get to after that is, what would I change? What would I do different? First, there's a few balls I would have taken with me if that ball had been this weekend. For one thing, the dark side, the torpedo direct hit would have been with me. I probably would have switched the Pure Envy for the torpedo, just because I think that it would have been a little bit smoother. It had, like I said, it's got that texture on it. Even though it's really strong off the spot down lane, I think it would have been different than my Pure Envy. I wish I would have been able to relax faster. I think next time I go bowling, I'm going to hopefully relax faster. And like I said, I want to make faster moves based on my scoring pace. I have to. I think that 3rd game, like I said, if I'd made a better choice going into game 3, maybe I could have been there before that split. I could have been still in it. I feel like game 2, though, kind of killed me. Like, I legitimately didn't miss the pocket for the entire game, and didn't have as many strikes as I feel like I should have. Some of it's deflection. Some of it was just plain bad luck. Like a 6 pin standing up, you can't adjust for that. I keep smacking my microphone. I'm sorry, guys. So I've never felt that on the lanes. You've never felt anxiety? Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. When I was at the World Series in 2013, I had less anxiety than when I bowled on the tournament this weekend. But I'll tell you, I had more anxiety leaving the World Series than I did leaving that tournament. When I left the World Series, I was like, oh my God, I have so much to learn. Why? But it started me on a good path. Leaving this tournament, I'm actually farther along in my conversion to two-handed than I thought I was. And I think with the direct hit, especially on the house shot, it's going to make a big difference for me as well. Because then I will be able to work on playing straighter rather than hooking the lane all the time, which is kind of what I'm forced to do. So thanks everybody for throwing questions out there in the huge anxiety coaching. Yeah, you know what? Everybody has it. And it's funny how people deal with it. Some people, like when I was on tour, I watched Beef and Barnsey play gags on each other and tricks on each other. Some guys would fry out and throw things. Some guys would look like they were having naps. People deal with anxiety so many different ways, and it's finding the way that works for you. Like I said, I think the book I read was Leap of Faith, and I'll put the book that I read in the comments after the video is posted, just so if you want to look for it, you can find it. Not all of the information is great. A lot of the self-help books end up going a little funny, somewhere during it, but the main focus of it is really good. It's something that we use with our national team, and it's something that I've now put into place for myself that's really helped. Check MP, two-hander direct hit, house shot, perfect for me, 100%. I think every two-hander is going to have one of these for when they get dicey, when they get high friction, if there's not a lot of oil, if they want to go and practice and nobody's going to put down a pattern for them. You can bowl with this thing. I bowled on this thing on the A22, the open shot. It gets there. You don't have to worry. I think that ball's going to be really, really good. I'm taking 2 of my spies out of my bag. 2 of my 3 spy. I have 3. I mentioned I have 3 spies that I carry with me. I think it's the Cold War or something. Yeah, I take 2 of the spies out of my bag and replace it with the direct hit. So I can get rid of the spy that I had a lot of surface on that I could swing a little bit more. That's what it's there for. So if you guys have any questions about anxiety stuff or tournament stuff, either post a comment in the comments, or shoot us a message at lanesidereviews@live.com, and we'll see if we can cover more stuff on here. I just want to share whatever we've learned, whatever I know as a coach, and help us all get better. So, speaking of coaching, we need to go to the interwebs, because last show, Revs on the left asked if we could take a look at his bowling and see if we had any coaching for him. Well, we got that link from him, and now we're going to take a look at him throwing a shot here. We're going to mute the volume just so we don't get like demonetized or anything like that. And let's see if we can see anything on the coaching. Now, it is a little easier for me to do coaching feedback if there's an actual video that I can slow down and stuff. But if it's on YouTube, I can always try to make it work here. Let's see if we can center this up a little bit more here. All right, so we're going to go back a little bit here. We're just going to take a look. See a nice push away. See a nice push away here. It looks like it's in his hands below the ball. It's going downward into a loop. I can't really tell because it's from the back, but I can see a little bit of the directionality. It looks pretty decent. Now, the one thing I noticed was right here. Look at where his hand position is here. It's on top of the ball. I don't know if I can... Yeah, when he gets into his backswing and through his release, he's a little bit on top of the ball. And let me just... So when we're talking about being on top of the ball... So, let me grab my handy-dandy clear ball here. When you're in your release, rather than having your ball... Let's get this in the right spot here. Rather having your fingers in your hand below the equator of the ball, your hand's a little more on top of the ball. We're losing a little bit of leverage there, a little bit of our release versatility. But other than that, it looks pretty decent. Wouldn't mind seeing a side view. Love what I'm seeing there. Like, you throw the ball, great. I think if you get your hand a little bit more behind the ball, you could really do some stuff there. Nice shot. Really good bowling. So thank you for sharing that with us. Revs on the left. As I said, if you want to have us look at your bowling and give you some critique live on the air, you can send it to lanesidereviews@live.com, either through YouTube or through a share through like a Dropbox or something. That way we can take a look at it and we can break it down slow-mo, all the good things. If you have a side view and a back view, makes it even easier. All right, so speaking about good bowlers, like Revs on the left, it's time to go to the World Series of Bowling. They've already started the World Series of Bowling, and as you can see, after 6 games of qualifying, Jason Belmonte is spanking the field. I think when you average 251 and have an 11 pin or 11 pin per game average higher than your competition, that 100% counts as spanking the field. However, I want you to take a look at who's in fourth here. Theodore. Now, who did I say we should keep an eye on last week? Theodore is insanely good. He is such a good two-handed bowler. And 230.33. I mean, he's in fourth place. He's pretty far back from Jason, but from the rest of the field, he's not that far back. Looking at EJ Tackett in second, Chris Vi in third, Theodore, and then Michael Laura in fifth. Going down the list here, we see Cameron Crowe, who did really good the last few weeks, as did Sean Maldonado. Jason Sterner and Matt Ogle. We saw Matt on the double show last week. Shout out to Matt. Matt was one of the first pros I ever got to interview after he'd just come on staff with the national staff with Deviate, and was just he's always been just the nicest guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him off the lanes, don't bug him on the lanes, but away from the lanes, such a genuinely amazing guy. Let's see who else here's in the top 24. We got Tommy Jones, Patrick Dombrowski we saw last week, Bug, David Kroll, Thomas Keiko. A lot of international players are really tearing it up on this. I think this is the Scorpion? Yeah, look how many international players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11 international players in the top 24. That is incredible. Holy moly. So yeah, keep an eye on Theodore. Keep an eye on him. He's good. Shout out to his team back home. Michael and his Pro Shop team. Those guys are amazing. So yeah, what do you guys think of the World Series? It's a long one this year. I don't know if you realize, but if you're there for all the shows this year, you're there for a month straight. And Reno, not cheap. Not cheap at all. You're looking at, I think, Nick and Phil over on the Reality Versus podcast, I think they said it was going to be about 10 to 12 grand for you to compete in the World Series this year, because you got to be there for a month. Staying on site. That's insane. That is, yeesh. Like, that's a lot. I don't know, like, for some pros, I can see why weeks going into the World Series, Tom Clark was advertising to international pros to please sign up and come compete. Come compete with the rest of the world, because they had spots available. I kind of understand why now. Like, at that much money, you have to have quite the backer just to come out here. Not only that, you got to make a show to break even. Like, that's a lot of money. Good heavens. Oh, we got here in I already put a direct hit. The house video of all the guys throwing it made it look really good. Yep, I'm going to be watching that as soon as we're done our live stream tonight. It came out and I was getting ready for things and I really wanted to watch it, but you guys were more important. So don't spoil anything. Almost, I just finished the video earlier. So damn funny. Oh, don't spoil it. I'm have to send a video. Absolutely, send your video in. We'll take a look at things. It's the best free coaching you're ever going to get on the internet. If you're going to have a good couple of weeks, now's the time to do it. Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to peak, If your training is set to peak, for pros, you better be peaking right now. You better be putting down your best bowling. Well, like Jason Belmonte, putting up the best bowling you possibly can. Because holy moly. See if we have any updates here. Nope. No other updates. So it looks like that's. I don't think they come back for a couple hours actually. Like 9 o'clock when they bowl the next time. So it'll be probably later tomorrow before we find out who's going to be making the cut for the Scorpion. All the bowling rocks. Yeah. So many new releases, so many tournaments, such good stuff going on for bowling right now. Which brings us to I think my favorite part of the show, and that's talking to you guys. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you want to ask about, it doesn't have to be what we talked about on the show today, just anything at all. I'm going to run the commercial, so that's going to give you 45 seconds to throw in some questions, comments, and queries, and we're going to talk about whatever you want to. And that'll probably take us to the top of the hour when we'll wrap things up. We'll make it a nice, easy show, nice and digestible. So why don't we throw it to the commercial and look at that god-awful guy back in the fall who has some really good information about how to become a better two-handed bowler. At least if you want it to fit better and have the right rocks. So let's go see what he's got to say.
Right to fit and arsenal construction for two-handed bowlers. Now, it really warms my heart, the amount of people who've already contacted me, who've read the book, with their training plans, their successes, and even their honor scores. And I've been blown away with the quality of conversation I've been having with pro shops and even PBA players on the science of building a proper arsenal based on RG differential, intermediate differential, and layouts. Now, if you've already picked up the book, thank you so much, and congratulations on your future success. And if you haven't, why not? The link's in the description below. And now, back to bowling.
See, gave you guys a couple of seconds there. Unfortunately, you got to look at that face even more, I know, right? I don't know, it's kind of handsome. It's growing on me. I got that little white piece going here. I might have to go like full Hogan and just dye the middle black and let the rest go gray, and I can just be Hollywood beard. Well, you know something, brother? I've been hanging and banging with the brothers down at the lanes. So let's see what we got here on the side. 190 average bowler. Y'all are enablers. Gonna look at a direct hit and a dark side for my son. You know what? You're not gonna be sad. The direct hit is gonna be so useful on a myriad of patterns. Whether he's just practicing or in a tournament, especially the longer the tournament gets, the more that ball is going to come into play. It's an incredible choice. And the dark side, I'm biased. I'll admit it. I threw a 300 with it, so I kind of like it. But I figure like if I threw a 300 with it, that probably makes it pretty good. So I think you're making a good choice. I think both of those in a bag. Like, even if you were building, like, a 4-ball arsenal, all you'd need is a benchmark ball and a spare ball, and boom, you've got a ton of reactions right there. Dead polymers, not a question, but I like that Deviate adds the post-drilling numbers to the two-handed cores. Absolutely. I think the post-drilling numbers are really important because it shows just how big of a swing some of those cores get. Like, if you think how much of a difference between the 1.5 inch, 026,002 differential and the 5 inch at 051, 018, those are two different balls. That's not like, oh, it's going to flare a little differently. Oh, it's going to flare early or late. No, those are two different balls out of one ball. You can literally buy one and put like one shiny and one dull, or one with a strong layout, one with a weak layout, and you're getting two different balls. Like, it's really, all of them are like that. They have such interesting flexibility in what you can do with them. And I'm surprised more manufacturers aren't looking at two-handed bowlers more. The fact that Deviate is really the ones who've jumped on it ahead of everybody else, that's probably going to reap the benefits later on as everyone realizes, certain balls don't look good for two-handers because of, you know, where they are drilled into, or if they're rotationally or refractory symmetrical. Like there's a lot of different things that go into how these cores are designed now that if you get them wrong, they are going to roll badly. So you'd think manufacturers would want to make sure that everything looks good. I don't know. DV8's doing it. Polymers. My pro shop operator keeps telling me to go deviate, but I'm effing up and not pulling the trigger. What do you think? Why not? There are a million reasons, okay, for you to say, why should I? All you need is one reason to say, why not? And I'm your reason. Why not? Give it a try, especially with the dark side. If you're going to give one of them a try and you know you've got a hole in your bag, like you're looking for a certain reaction, the dark side's going to allow your pro shop operator to really dial in that reaction to fit exactly in that spot. I really am biased to the dark side. I'm not even on staff for Deviate. Like, I just really, really liked the reaction I saw from that ball. Leave the gray, dye the rest black, and go Scott Steiner. Yeah! You know, I do have a chainmail coif. I could be wearing that and go full Steiner. And then I could do all of my layouts using Steiner math. So I'd end up with a ball with, what, 168 3/4 degree drill angle and a 14 3/4 inch val angle, and Scott Steiner banging on my door. If you don't know Steiner math, please look up Steiner math on YouTube. It is worth your while. Please look up the original Scott Steiner math. What's we got here? I like the layout I have on my symmetrical ball, but wanted to try and figure out the first angle I should use if I drill an asymmetrical. Oh, that's a good question. A lot of people, when they've had symmetrical balls and they're making the jump to their first asymmetrical ball, they're not exactly sure how much drill angle they need because they've never used a lot before. It really depends on, I'll give you a few things to look for that might help you out. One is ball speed. The higher your ball speed, generally the lower your drill angle, because you want the ball to start spinning up faster. You want it to start creating motion faster, so you're going to want a lower drill angle. The lower your ball speed is, or the lower your tilt is, so the more the ball rolls this way rather than this way, or your slower ball speed, you're going to want longer drill angles. When I was a one-handed bowler, I had almost zero tilt, so I used 90-degree drill angle on a lot of my asymmetricals because I just needed the ball to get down lane. I needed the maximum amount of length that I could get. Now that I'm a two-hander and I have a little bit of tilt, I can actually use a few different ones. If you're unsure, I always tell people 70 is a great middle ground. You'll see a lot of people, if you have high speed, you'll be 70 to 90. If you have low speed, you'll be 70 to 50. Even sometimes if you have like really, really high speed, you might need like a down to 35. But for the most part, 70's around the middle. So maybe try something depending on your style in that 70-degree drill angle and see how it works. Let's see here. As long as it all adds up to excess. That's right. Steiner math is the best. How you guys like my Hellfire Club? I came all D&D'd out today, showing off my geek love for all my nerd friends out there playing Magic, playing D&D, having a good time. We're all wrestling nerds in the end, aren't we? And so many other types of nerds. So this is your time. If you guys have any other questions, we're going to wrap this up about 8 o'clock. So we got about 5 minutes for anything else that you want to talk about. Going through my So many notes. Now, one thing I might recommend while I'm waiting for a question here, if you're looking for a heavy oil ball, tune in tomorrow for our special effect preview video, our review video. That ball, first of all, at 500,000, 1,500, looks polished, but is not, and goes forever. That, if you were to hit that thing with some polish, it might turn around and get you. We're going to kind of show you a little bit of how much that ball hooks, because it's special, and it's an effect. But it's not special effects. Like, we're very, very surprised at that ball, how continuous it was down lane for an asymmetrical ball. Very surprised. Especially, I mean, when we looked at the original effect, it was a little more off the spot. But this one just seems, it takes that corner and then continues. I think it's probably because of that polish on there. Probably if you take a little bit of it off, it's going to drain a little bit more energy. It might roll forward a little bit more with that big core. But man, it's good. I gotta admit, there's a lot of good releases that have come out. Between the Brands of Brunswick ones, even the Storm ones, like I've been talking to my friends who are on other staffs. And like I said, that Hyperdrive and that Rockstar are seeing a ton of play already. They are really, really all over those ones. Those are their big new balls for them, because it seems like they give a motion that's different from what they've had. It's almost like they're crossing the streams. The Brunswick stuff is getting more snappy and more Storm-like, and the Storm stuff is going more Brunswick-like, and Motive's in the middle going, I bent my Wookiee. Now, Motive's good. EJ's the player of the year, and he throws one ball, and he throws it better than anybody in the world, and that's all he needs is that one ball, and he can beat almost anybody. So it looks like we're coming up to about the 8 o'clock hour. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. We're going to be back next Tuesday for another one of these. We're going to try to keep them going every Tuesday night. If there's a topic that you guys want to talk about, whether it be coaching, whether it be bowling, anything you want, make a comment down below, and we'll take it under advisement, and maybe we'll do a show about it. And please, please don't forget, please leave some love in the comments for Nick and Wayne. Wayne has been dealing with some hip issues and a shoulder issue. He got a cortisone shot. He's been in some pain. But thankfully, it looks like at the next set of releases, which we're going to start shooting very shortly, he's going to be able to bowl with us again, which we're incredibly excited about, because Wayne is absolutely the star of the show. As much as I'm happy to be on here flapping my gums, Wayne bowls more like any bowler out there, so we're always happy to have him out there throwing shots. And so many people rely on what he does to buy equipment. We need him back. We want him back. And of course, Scoops. Scoops is out dealing with some personal stuff, and he's got his little girl, the wonderful and beautiful, I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name on thing. I got to ask him if I'm allowed to say her name on the stream, because I don't want to get in trouble. But you know who you are. Uncle Rob says hi. He's spending some time with his family and dealing with some stuff. So he is also going to be back next month. Really looking forward to having our match player back, and honestly, really looking forward to not having to do all the work by myself. It's a team effort, and I miss my team. So I'm looking forward to having them back. So please send them some looking forward to seeing you back and some well wishes in the comments below. But that draws our show to a close. I want to thank Brunswick, all the Brands of Brunswick, for helping us out with our reviews. I want to thank I Am Bowling, who supply all of my jerseys. And if you want to order any of my jerseys, please go to iambowling.com, and you'll be able to find them there. And use the code Johnson for 20% off or more. Who knows? But definitely check it out. Want to thank Turbo. Turbo Grips have been with us since the very beginning. I've used Turbo Grips in both one-handed and two-handed balls, and we use our switch grips, interchangeables, for all of our one-handed bowlers, and they are incredible. To us, they have always been the best, and they just keep proving it to us every time we use their product. It just keeps getting better and better. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors. And until next time, guys, we'll see you laneside.